Ciao! A few weeks ago I made a Sicilian meat lasagna. There she is, looking very beautiful, elegant, and a big masterpiece. Delicious it was as well. During that recipe I used aubergines as a filling for the lasagna. Today I'm going to be slightly more controversial and I'm going to be using a lasagna as a filling for my aubergines. Something different, a little twist, and a slightly different recipe as well, which I'm sure you will all enjoy. I have two aubergines as I'm cooking for two today, and I will be leaving the little baffetto, that is what it's called in Italian, as it will look quite nice at the end as well. The first thing to establish is how this aubergine best sit, and in this particular case this will be the base. So I will turn it on its side and I will cut it in half. And I'll do the same for the other one. Using a paring knife, gently I'm cutting around the edges of the aubergine, leaving approximately half a centimeter. And if you did it right, it should just come out, leaving you the shape of a boat. I'll show you again. Make sure that the knife is in an angle and very gently just go along. Half a centimeter roughly from the board, and do not go through the aubergine. If you do go through it though, don't worry. It's only presentational. And there it is. It comes out very easily, leaving you a nice shaped boat. Pour a little olive oil in an oven tray which has been lined up with some baking paper, and go through with a little brush, and using the oil that you've just brushed, just brush the inside of each aubergine. Place them in the tray facing upwards and just add a tiny little amount of salt in each piece of aubergine. Turn the oven on and pop them in for 15 minutes at a temperature of 180 degrees. So if you're following my recipe, you should have the inside of the 4 halves aubergines. Using a knife, carefully cut across lengthwise and remove approximately 1 centimeter. So you now go 8 pieces. And cut everything into 1 centimeter strip. Put a little olive oil in a frying pan, add them to it and give them a good mix with your hands so that every piece of aubergine will absorb a little oil. Place them on the hob on a medium to high heat. In my case it's number 7 out of 9, and once they start sizzling, just give them a little shake to make sure that they're not stuck to the bottom, and turn the temperature down to a simmer point, maybe number 4, and put the lid on and leave them for 5 minutes, and I will check in 5 minutes, and most probably I'll give them a little mix as well. And I'm now moving on to the preparation of the soffritto. I've got a small carrot, a small piece of celery, and a small onion. Everything is small as I'm only cooking for 2, but everything needs to be chopped very, very finely because these will go inside the aubergine. Different pan, a little olive oil, and in they go my vegetables. And we are back on the stove, so put the vegetables on a fairly high heat, medium to high, and let them sizzle for a couple of minutes until everything has softened up. Cooking for 2, so only a couple of 100 grams of minced beef will go in. Keep the heat on a high setting, in my case it's number 7 out of 9, and start breaking up the mince into small pieces. So the mince has been browning now for a good 7 minutes, and now that it's all nice and dry and all of the fat has caramelized, is when we add the wine. I will be adding, literally, if you look at it, it's not more than a quarter of a glass of white wine. This is dry. And keep it on a high setting still, the heat, as you want the alcohol from the wine to evaporate. So the alcohol is all gone, and you should be able to establish that by smelling it. And I will be adding literally 1 cupful. This is an espresso cup full of peas. Approximately 25 grams. And I'm now going to be putting the lid on, turn the temperature down on a very low setting, number 2 in my case, and I'll leave it to simmer for approximately 10 minutes. You will notice that I'm not adding any sauce at this stage because I'm going to be doing something different. So let's check on the aubergines. They have been now cooking for a good 5 to 7 minutes, and they're beginning to cook. And you can see that some of them are still white, that means they're not cooked, but some of them are translucent, so these are almost ready. They will need probably another 3 or 4 minutes before they are properly done. So everything is going nicely as planned. I've also got the aubergines out of the oven, which they've been cooling down for a few minutes. If you look, they are nice and soft, but they still got quite a good structure to them, and that is important. Do not overcook them because they will need to hold the lasagna, so they need to have some strength. So I will put them aside until later. I did say I was going to be doing something different with the sauce, so here we go. I'm chopping a small clove of garlic into little pieces. And I am also slicing in half 200 grams of cherry tomatoes. These are nice and sweet and I absolutely love them. Using the same pan I used for the aubergines, so I do not have to mess anything up, I will be adding a little olive oil, my garlic and the cherry tomatoes. Back on the stove on a medium to high heat so that they start seasoning, I will add a little salt. I'll give them a little stir. And this will not need long at all, literally 5 minutes. So I will put the lid on and I'll turn it down to simmer for literally 5 minutes, number 4. And we will move on to the quickest and easiest bechamel sauce in the world. A couple of 100 milliliters of milk. You must have noticed by now that everything is at a couple of 100. We're cooking for 2. And 20 grams of plain flour. A pinch of salt. Everything is still cold, by the way. And a little nutmeg. This is optional. If you do not like nutmeg, you do not have to add it, of course. But we do like it. Turn the heat on and start mixing. Don't worry, everything is cold, so you will not get any lumps. As long as you start mixing and you keep mixing, you'll be fine. And being that it's also such a small quantity of milk, it will not take very long at all. I'm starting on a very, very high setting, but I will be turning it down now on to a number 7, so that it's not going to be burning the bottom of the pan. Literally, look, in less than 2 minutes it's already bubbling and it's nearly ready. So what I do, I'll stir it for 10 seconds once it starts bubbling, and then I'll remove it off the heat and stir it for another 20 seconds. If you put the lid on top, it will stop from getting a film on the bechamel. I do not have a lid for this one as it broke, so I'm going to put the plate where my aubergines are. And back to my cherry tomatoes, they are also cooked. If you see, they've actually changed shape and they're nice and soft as well. So I will turn them off and I will be breaking in a few leaves of basil, fresh basil, and put the lid on to allow the basil to infuse the lovely sauce. So we're nearly there, and this is when the fun part of this little bizarre recipe starts. First of all, I'm going to be adding my tomatoes to the mince, and they are ready. You might be wondering why I didn't do this before. It's because I'm trying to preserve as much of the flavor as possible, and because they have fresh tomatoes, they will taste even better. The mince, by the way, did simmer for a further 5 minutes. As you can gather, by using fresh tomatoes, the mix is not very liquidy, which is perfect for what we're going to be doing. I've got some lasagna here from the supermarket, from fresh lasagna. It's better than the dry lasagna, by the way. I would recommend using this lasagna. And you can see that lengthwise we are there, so I just need to cut them in half. And I'm going to be needing 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4 halves per layer. So I got 4 pieces of lasagna here, which I'm going to be cutting bang on in the middle. And I'll start my first layer just by picking tomatoes only. Try and avoid picking anything else that is hard, and squash them with your spoon. By doing so, we are trying to build a little juicy base for the lasagna to sit on. And get hold of a piece of lasagna sheet and place it on top and push it down with your fingers as much as you can, without obviously breaking the aubergines. And with the help of a spoon, build a layer of tomato sauce and mince together. And squash them as much as you can, again without breaking the aubergine, because you want to do at the very least a couple of layers. And place a couple of strips of aubergine which you cooked before. Again, as it's cooled down, you can handle it with your fingers quite nicely. I'm also adding some cooked ham and press it with your fingers. I've chopped some mozzarella very finely, which I'm adding as well, and a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese. And I've started again. I've done another layer of my tomato and mince and my pasta on top. Put the rest of your mince on top. Put in the rest of your aubergines, the rest of the mozzarella. And with the help of a spoon, put all of your béchamel sauce on top. And to finish off, add a generous amount of Parmesan cheese at the very, very top. Now this part is very important because you will have noticed that there isn't an awful lot of sauce and the pasta need to cook. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be covering my tray with tin foil, but make sure that it is hermetically sealed so that effectively the vapors and from all of the juices will make sure that everything cooks nicely. And they are ready for the oven. As they are small and there isn't a lot of sauce, I'm going to be putting them on a temperature of 170 degrees, initially for half an hour, but I will keep an eye on them. But then I will take the tin foil off and I will let you know how I get on. See you later. Great, they are just out of the oven after half an hour as planned, and everything looks cooked. Look, I can easily score through the pasta, which is lovely and cooked, and they smell absolutely amazing. Oops, stay there you. What I'll do next, I will pop them under the grill just for a couple of minutes to brown up, and then I'll see what happens. Look at them. And they're done. I'm going to leave them to rest for a couple of minutes before I do anything to them because they are absolutely piping hot. Use a knife to score them. You might need a couple of spatulas, and I would start from the middle to make it easy on yourself. Before I try some, I'm going to show you that the lasagna is cooked to perfection. It's nice and soft, so no fear there. It's going to be hot. Oh God, that's so lovely. Really, I mean it. Delicious. It's everything you can imagine from a lasagna, but very rich in aubergine, to demonstrate that you can use your creativity and your imagination in the kitchen. You can come up with anything. I don't even know if this dish exists, but if it doesn't, it might be a first, but it is definitely worthwhile trying. I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be something which we'll do more often. So get out there, try, create, invent. There's nothing wrong with it. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, it will still taste delicious. Thank you for watching. See you later. Ciao, ciao. Bye.